Are you on edge?
Come on.
We live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs bi-monthly on MaximizeU.life and iTunes. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and courageous conversations about pushing boundaries, exploring our rough edges, and walking between the worlds of what is and what is yet to be. Join me, Sandra Bargman, on the edge of every day on MaximizeU.life. Hello, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman, and welcome to the Edge of Every Day, now at MaximizeU.life and streaming on your favorite podcast platforms. Are you a change maker? Do you walk between worlds, between cultures, between systems? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Edge of Every Day is the place for you. In a nutshell, this podcast is about pushing boundaries and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we're resistant to change, those places where paradox and contradicting identities live in our beliefs and understandings, both individually and collectively. We live in edgy, challenging times. We cannot keep looking away from the ugly, from the difficult, and silence is no longer an option. Life isn't black or white, it's both, and I want to talk about that. I want to face the tension of paradox, and I want to engage in the hard conversations. I want to explore the rough edges between our light-filled brilliance and our shadowy, dark corners. Because the more we recognize our own edges and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same. And that, I fully believe, can help to change the world. So, thanks for tuning in. Today, we are live in the Hive with actor and activist Pooya Mohseni for a compelling conversation on the evolution of identity. My listeners know that my opening question to all of my guests is, what identity do you lead with? The answers are always fascinating. Identity is a big concept to unpack, especially in today's world. People who are overly concerned with the impression they make, or more importantly, people who feel a core aspect of themselves, such as gender or sexuality, is not being expressed, can struggle acutely with their identity. Reflecting on the discrepancy between who one is perceived to be, and who one wants to be, can be a powerful catalyst for change. And we are now in the month of July, and here in the US, we celebrate our Independence Day on the 4th of July, and we reflect on what freedom means to us. The word freedom, like the word identity, is not a neutral word. It means many things to different people. Is it freedom from? Is it freedom to? Or is it freedom to be? A freedom where the chains of society are cast off, the will of the ego is managed, and our authentic being can reveal itself, our genuine identity. And so, without further ado, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our guest. Pooya Mohseni is a multi-award-winning Iranian-American actor, writer, filmmaker, and transgender activist. Her stage credits include an Obie win in the Pulitzer and Obie-winning play English, Atlantic Theater Company, and the Old Globe Theater. The world premiere of The Sex Party, Menier Chocolate Factory in London. Hamlet, play on Shakespeare Festival. She, He, Me, National Queer Theater. Our Town, Pride Plays, Galatia, the WP Project, The Good Muslim, EST, White Snake, Baltimore Center Stage, and the Audible production of Chonburi Hotel and the Butterfly Club, Williamstown Theater Festival. Her film and television credits include Law and Order, SVU, Big Dogs, Falling Water, Madam Secretary, Terrifier, and See You Then. Welcome, Pooya.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is a complete and utter pleasure, my friend. A complete pleasure and honor to see your gorgeous being here on the edge of every day.
Yes, Queen. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, for those who are listening, Hui and I, speaking of queens, we lit together the purple royal color of the queens in honor of our conversation. For those of you listening in, also, Pooya and I are wearing some important articles of clothing in wanting to come to our conversation with some symbolism that's important to us. I'll start. I'm wearing a tie in honor of wanting to dress like a little boy when I was a tomboy child. And it's Escher art on it, and it's salamanders. And I also have on this bejeweled, over the top, kind of ridiculous and yet absolutely stunning salamander necklace. Because I've chosen these salamander images because salamanders can change sex. As we know, sex is such a big deal in today's world, but people don't understand that there's a vast spectrum, and science is sharing that information in much bigger ways for those who want to learn about it, that some personal parts are divergent or absent, and chromosomal and hormonal anomalies exist. So again, things can change. And how about what you're wearing, Pooya?
Well, for the people listening, I'm wearing this scarf, which means a lot to me because one of my kids, when I say kids, as a queer activist, there are a lot of younger queer performers or queer people in general who reach out to me. And to me, they're like my children.
I love that.
And many years ago, one of them gave me this, which almost looks like a rainbow because it has multi pieces of fabric stitched together, different colors. And usually I don't wear anything this colorful, but whenever I see it, I understand and I embrace that I am here because the world needs me. Not just me, the world needs people who want to step forward with kindness, with their whole selves, that are just sassy enough, that are willing to take on the world and keep going. So when I look at it and I look at the multitude of colors and patterns in this beautiful scarf, I just think of how the entire world that we live in is a non-binary concept.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe what you were talking about, the evolution of sex, the expansiveness of it, is that in reality, the reality of life is that everything we look at is a non-binary concept.
Amen.
Whether it's night and day. I mean, think about it. The basic thing that we think is so very black and white, night and day, except that it's not just night and then day.
No.
It's night, and then it's a little less night, and then it's a little less night, and then it's a little less, and then there's a little more light, and it's a little more day. And everything, creatures, colors, tastes, textures, everything around us lives on a spectrum. And the struggle that we're seeing, about gender and identity and color and nationality and ethnicity,
And race,
it's because
yes, it's all construct.
Exactly, because at some point we decided these are the boxes, and we
Mm.
have boxed ourselves into those boxes that then we're finding it hard to be able to explain things that do
So-
exist outside of those boxes. They just don't fit in those particular parameters.
Yes. I think one of the biggest things that I have learned over the course of trying to educate myself to be a good ally and to understand fluidity of gender, etc. In addition to all of it being a construct with all of the race and nationality, etc. Well, not necessarily nationality, but certainly race, is the how gender is imposed, like the boxes you're talking about. It's imposed by society and therefore, then it can become imposed by ourselves. And the willingness, as you say, to step outside those boxes, to be able to live safely outside of those boxes and beautifully and to express oneself. That's truly probably one of the greatest things that I've learned in all of my self-education and curiosity and exploration and embrace of, all of this fantastic information and revelation. Um, it's really quite something.
And I wasn't born with this concept of expansiveness. I mean, obviously, my own identity going back decades. Um, but even within the last 10 years, within the last 15 years, it's the older I'm getting, the more I realize there are people who are terrified by change because that means that you have to restructure your beliefs, that you are going to move the goalposts, that you're going to move the parameters, except that we are doing that in our lives on a daily
Always.
basis. Except that when it comes to certain structures, whether it happens to be related to religion or tradition, it's this idea like, no, that's how it was. Except, I'm now in my late 40s. I was born and raised in Iran in the 80s, post-revolutionary regime, war. So my whole life has shown me in the clear sense that nothing is permanent,
Mm,
that change is the only absolute thing in life, in anyone's life, in
totally.
history. And not embracing it or avoiding it or turning our back on it doesn't make the change not happen. It just makes us fall out of tune
Yeah.
with our own selves, with the world around us. You know, the simplest example, ocean and the beach. Does the ocean ever stop? No. Can you stop it? No. Can you try to stop it? You can try to do anything.
Well, certain people like to think they can with
Well,
walls and stone wall. Yeah. Anyway,
see,
but
I
of
was
course
gonna
they
say the
know.
walls. I was gonna say the walls, but I'm like, that's a little too on the nose. But exactly. It's you cannot move the
No, of course.
tectonic plates of the planet.
Mother, oh dear Lord, of course not. Insanity. Well, and yeah, to your point, and fear of change, of course, is the cornerstone of this show. And, yeah,
I embrace it, Sandra.
yeah, you
I
have to.
embrace change because also when I look at it in my life, change, like aging, it's inevitable. The surest thing in life is that we're all going to age and we're all going to die. Like there's just no pivot from that. You can escape from taxes, you cannot escape from death. You
Yeah.
know, you just can't. It's like wherever you go, that's where you are. And for me, it's embracing that change, whether it's aging, whether it's evolution of gender, whether it's evolution of my own gender expression, whether it's
Mm.
my understanding of what gender means and what it means to me and how do I fall in that spectrum. is embracing change has been the best core exercise of meditation, of intentionality, because you wake up every day and you can make a choice. Either I wake up every day with this idea that today is the same as yesterday, or that today is different from yesterday,
Yeah.
and tomorrow is different from today, and that every day holds promise for change, for growth, for betterment,
Yeah.
or that you can choose to look at life as though it's a circle that you just keep going back and forth
And
and
feel
back and
safe.
forth.
And feel
Yeah,
safe.
and then I'm like, do you actually, or is it a perceived safety? And
Bingo.
you know, um, but I told somebody many years ago, I said, you can either look at life as though it's just this circle that you just keep, it's like from January to January and you just come back to point zero, or that life is the spiral that you can choose what is the direction of that spiral. Are you spiraling forward? Are you spiraling upward? Are you
Mm.
spiraling downward? But that you are never in the same spot. And when whatever it was that clicked in my mind, that I looked at it as the spiral versus the circle, and then I realized my life isn't in the same spot all the time.
Never.
It's always moving. I'm
Always.
not the same person from this January to last January to January to come. I'm
It's
not the same.
impossible. It's impossible.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's the joy of it. That's the beauty of
That's
it,
the
that
gift.
you can always grow. You can always become more.
Yeah.
You can always be deeper and more expansive, like a tree, like a tree. You grow up
like a
and you
like a giraffe.
like a
like a
giraffe.
giraffe.
You
Oh,
have to tell your audience what that's
oh,
about.
I totally have to. So, because I tell all my listeners that how I know my guests, and this is so beautiful. So I met Pooya doing a play called The Blue Giraffe. Garrett, the Blue Giraffe. It was a two-hander. It was she and I, a beautiful play. Actually, that was the first play that my company co-produced along with
Yes.
the playwright, Connie Kepfinger, and a beautiful story about a blue giraffe. And my character, Israfel, was like an angelic sort of overlooking, passing on some wisdom. But it's the story, Garrett, the character. Well, I'll let you talk about it.
Well, I don't know how much of it I remember. What I do remember, I
Was-
remember, there are things you remember. I mean, it was
exactly. It
nine
was a
years
hundred
ago.
years ago.
And this this little giraffe, which was um, like an embodiment of a child
Mm,
almost, and looking at the world with such innocence and openness,
mm,
and seeing trauma and seeing tragedy and having questions about who they are and where's their place in the world and what do they have to offer to the world, to then going through and with the help of your character, embracing the change, embracing the edges,
mm.
embracing the darkness, and walking through it, which there was this beautiful sequence that your character and my character would just be spiraling. And the spiraling was basically a manifestation of embracing change and walking into it, as opposed to looking back and trying to stay the same.
Yeah.
And through that, both our characters, both my character and your character, who was there as the guide, we both came out different
Yes, indeed.
and more.
Which is the great
And
thing about, everyone stepping more into who they are. Everyone benefits. This is what we get back to that box, what people don't understand. When one person expands, the whole thing expands. The whole spiral expands. Everything, self-determination, self-love, self-acceptance. It was so beautiful. And after that most glorious, wonderful play that we did and wonderful time that we had together exploring, you can imagine how beautiful the rehearsal process of this was, how tender it was. Um, Something really quite astounding you chose to do in your life. And can you tell us that story?
Oh, that was the summer. It was actually basically last week. It
Yeah.
was the 9-year anniversary, June 26th, was I decided to publicly come out on Facebook and let the world know that I was trans. And I have to clarify that I've known that I was trans for 40 years. I, my mom and I, we moved out of Iran because my parents realized that as a trans person in the 90s in Iran, I wasn't going to have a life. And so after a lot of self-harm, after a lot of suicide attempts and arrests and
Mm.
assaults and all of that, uh, we left Iran, my mom and I, in 1996, and I came to the States in 97, and I started my journey of transitioning, which I believe that we're always transitioning. All of us are always transitioning in a multitude of ways. And so my transition was very specific. It was gender transition, it was social transition and medical transition. And it started in 1997, but it never truly stopped. I mean, it's going to go on until I die because I hope that I never stop transitioning as a human being.
Yes. Yes.
But I had basically, through that transition, I had come out of one closet and transitioned into being physically and presenting as a female. But what that had caused was that then I had gone into another closet, which was to have what I call cis privilege, as in
Ah,
I was presenting as female and that the world around me was not aware that I was trans. So I had certain privileges. And at that time, it was very important because it meant that you would be safe walking down the street. You could get hired in a job. You could go to school. You would just not be harassed every moment. And then once in a while, somebody would know and they would just fall over themselves to let you know that they know, kind of like, I know. Now, sometimes there'd be propositions involved with that, like, I know, and you know, if you want me to keep quiet, that's a whole different other story. But the other part of it was when people did find out that then, somebody outed me on set when I was doing background work. This is like 1999, 2000. I was on the set of Sex and the City, the series. And so I basically got ousted out of the business. I was an aspiring model. Photographers stopped working with me. So then I wanted to go into that second closet so that I could work,
mm,
so that I would not be harassed. And then I had that privilege of passing as non-queer,
right.
passing as a cisgender person. And the first 5, 6 years of coming back into acting, up to when we met, I had kept that hidden because I was afraid of the same things happening, that I would be ousted again, that people wouldn't want to work with me again. But when we did that play, Garrett, and when I did this other play, Death of the Persian Prince,
Mm.
and this other shorter play called Gender, and all of these things, somehow they were all happening at the same time. When universe tells you, oh, sometimes you don't want to listen, but that was just so obvious that these three plays were happening at the same time. And I felt, how can I play these roles if I myself, as a human being that is breathing life into these characters, that I am living in the dark, that I don't have the courage to come out and say, world, this is who I am. And that was a moment I thought, surviving suicide attempts and assault and all of this stuff and traveling halfway around the world to come here, and I'm still living in hiding? Why? Then why have I done all of this? And that was the moment I thought, oh, well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I remember that Friday, and that morning when I heard the news that the Supreme Court passed marriage equality, I thought, this is the world
Moment.
pointing and saying, I gave you that play, you didn't get it. I gave you that other play, you didn't get it. I gave you that other play, you didn't get it. This is a national thing. And I went on Facebook, and I still remember the moment that I was about to hit, like, here goes life. And it was the most amazing thing. My cat is also having things to
Singing
say.
your praises.
Mama, sugar, I love you. I know. Praise be, Mama. And it was one of the best things I have done in my life, for me, for the child in me who went through so much stuff in the 80s and 90s, and for every child like me, no matter how old they are now, no matter where they are now, because that thing that I started by saying, like, that the world needs me and people like me and people in general who are willing to stand up and say, this is the truth, regardless of what could happen to me because of it. And somebody could say, well, some right-wing person is also speaking their truth and truth of the Bible, except there's one huge difference here, and that is the difference that people always forget. My truth does not involve oppressing someone else. My truth does not involve putting somebody else in the dark. My truth does not involve denying someone else's reality because I'm uncomfortable with it. And my truth does not result in someone feeling so desperate that they would take their life. And that is the difference between these two truths. My truth comes from my heart. And if there is a God, if there are deities, that we are their children, then I am just as much a child of that deity as anybody else, as are you. And if that deity has love for us, if that deity is worthy of my love, then that deity would love all of its children, regardless of their religion, regardless of their race, regardless of their ethnicity, their gender, their expression, their sexuality. The love should not be conditional. In parenting, in mortal parenting, we say that all children are equally loved by their parents. That is what we aspire to be. Now, if we have a deity that we want to seek guidance from, we want to seek protection from, then we can't say, no, but that deity loves people very conditionally, based
Well,
on all the above.
that's a big
And
fat conversation. Yeah.
that is where I seek my truth. That
Amen.
is where I seek my guidance.
Mm.
I have had very, very, very dark moments in my life.
Oh, my friend.
And I look back on it with love, because I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine last night, and we were talking about trauma and the effects of trauma and what do we do with it when we realize that our behavior, whether it's anger or self-harm or whatever it may be. And I said, when you realize that your anger was there for a reason, to protect you, and you realize that that purpose is what made that dark side come to surface, then you're on your path of making peace with that dark side of you. I have no interest in vanquishing the dark side of me because it was there when it was needed. It was there to protect me so that I can be here. And now that dark side isn't this thing that's looming over me.
Yeah.
It's this entity that's standing in the corner with respect because it feels that it has been acknowledged, it has been appreciated, and is there to present itself when it is needed.
Yeah.
I have that relationship with the dark side of me, that it was there because the circumstances needed that harsh, prickly, thorny side to be there. And then, like all prickly, thorny, angry things, it is also a little bit of a bull in a china shop, which means it also destroys yourself along the way, and it destroys some things, but it's because you're afraid of it, because you can't control it. But where I am in my life now, I give gratitude for it,
Good.
because had it not been there, I would not have survived my assaults. I would not have survived my arrests. I would not have survived my suicide attempts. And it is that strength that pushes me forward, that gives gratitude for the fact that I am still here, and that there was an entity within me that was there to step in, to
Looking out
protect
for
me.
you. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, and I mean, that's another precept of the show, and the embrace of both the light and the dark as the wholeness that it is, that they both contribute, the yin and the yang, individual and collective. Thank you. That was just magnificent and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You spoke about the privilege of passing as cis. And so I want to get to this hierarchy of cis and trans women, this
Ooh,
competition. And I'll tell you, I don't know what rock I was under, Pooya, but I remember when J.K. Rowling came out with all of her transphobia, and
yeah.
I didn't. I thought, oh my God, this woman is sticking a knife in her career. How insane is that? I did not realize that that is a full-blown movement. And I discovered the word TERF. And for
Yes.
our listeners, TERF is an acronym for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist,
Yes.
and a movement that has twisted feminism into transphobia. So it's like women who have internalized their misogynistic control and don't even realize it, that they're doing this to other feminine creatures. They are the misogynistic control freaks, and they don't even, under the guise of being feminine. So I would love for you to elaborate on all of those points and to share your story around and experience around those points.
I will give two examples,
Mm,
two parallels outside of gender hierarchy that may make people uh, get a better visual of what that's actually like. You know how this country is all immigrants, but as
yes.
immigrants have come in, each group says to the group after them, no, not you.
Yes.
Or within communities of color, there's the hierarchy. Let's say within the Black community, depending on what circle, whether it's revered that you're lighter skin,
You're right.
or that it's looked down upon that you're lighter skin or darker skin, depending on how, that there are these hierarchies. And I think part of it is an instinctual thing for human beings.
Sure.
This, we try to squeeze things in non-binary. Well, something has to be higher, something has to be
Well, it's
lower. It just has
patriarchy.
to be.
I mean,
Exactly.
patriarchy is hierarchy,
It's hierarchy. I mean,
and
like,
it's we are baked into it.
and I feel that it's kind of like I've had this situation, I've been on set or I've been in rehearsal room. Oh, I can sit next to you, but I don't want to have to share the same pronoun with you. Or no, I'm not saying that you as a trans person, you shouldn't exist, but I don't want the shelters that accommodate cis women and girls to be put in jeopardy by also allowing trans people, or being on set and have somebody uh, say, oh, it's like you're trans and that's all great. And then when we talk about our histories of violence and our history of lack of sense of safety, that a cis woman would turn to me and say, well, you would never understand what a woman goes through. And that's like me saying,
Wow.
I assure you, the person who had their hand on my throat couldn't care less about my transness versus your cisness. And this is also, when we talk about sexual assault, anybody can be the victim of sexual assault. Cis women, trans men, cis men, anybody. Now we can go into statistics and say, well, this is 70% and that one's 40% and that one's 30% and that's 20%. But when you look at all of this stuff, it's no different than Trump's Muslim ban. Because what was he saying? Some Muslims are terrorists, so we are not going to let any Muslims in.
Yeah.
Somebody could say, well, there was this person pretending to be a woman and they did this thing at a women's bathroom or at a women's locker room. But then my question is that, so you're assuming that a cis woman cannot assault another cis woman? Because we know that that is not true. A crazy person, a violent person, regardless of their sex or their gender, is capable of violence.
Mhm.
Now, some people could be like, well, but the plumbing is different. Well, a little light bulb moment, you don't have to assault people with your personal equipment. You can assault people with things that are not attached to your body. So I assure you, having something attached to your body does not automatically make you a predator. You know what makes somebody a predator? What goes on in their mind. And that has nothing to do with what goes on in their pants. And just look at the news. All the very, very holy, good, polite people of society who are not trans, are not queer, you keep finding these stories
Yeah,
that
of
they had to
course.
resign from their positions
Uh-huh.
because they had misused their positions and had made very unwanted advances over the course of years towards children.
Yeah.
Not trans, not drag queens, not queer.
Yeah.
Now, can a queer person also commit horrible things? Well, anybody can,
Of course, anyone can. Do they?
but some
No.
people do.
Well, I'm sure, but the point is, I mean, to your point, it's the projection of the people that are doing it that are making all of these prejudgment on. I mean, how many people are coming forward and saying it's never the trans community, it's never the queer community, it's always the cis white men. evangelicals crazy. I mean, overall, yeah, sure, exceptions to everything. But
Where I come from, Iran, the scandals about predominantly men, cis men,
yeah,
in positions of power.
power.
Now, whether it's that they're abusing that to take advantage of a young man or a young woman, that's almost besides the point. Because again, we go into that hierarchy. Is it more scandalous when someone takes advantage of a young man than a young woman? It
Right,
shouldn't. We create these very arbitrary hierarchies that is like, this is this is more heinous, that one is less heinous.
right.
When you intrude on someone's personhood and you um, destroy their sense of self and their sense of security, it should not matter what that person's sex
Absolutely.
or gender are.
No.
But we put it in these hierarchies.
Of course we do, because we love our hierarchy. Ah,
And then we get stuck in them.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And just, of course, we can go on and on about that, but I want to stay focused on you and your story. And what what does home mean to you, having come from grown up in Tehran and discovered, that you felt different and then moved from Iran, moved to New York City. What does home mean to you, and how does that relate to Pooya Land? Hmm.
I'm a New Yorker.
Amen.
I'm a New Yorker. I've been in New York since I was 19.
Mm.
Uh, New York embraced me when
Yeah.
I really needed it. And as an immigrant, also being an Iranian, there are more of us outside of Iran than I'd like to admit. But over the past 40 something years, especially post revolution, some of the brightest, some of the most gifted artists, engineers, scientists, they have fled for a multitude of reasons, which is very sad. And it truly saddens me to my core that, we cannot embrace our home as our home and then we have to go and find homes.
Yeah.
But that has also made me realize that these attachments we have to nationality and the dirt that we come from, it's all just dirt. Do we value our ideals, value who we are, and safety and community? And so all of that together, New York is my home. Yes, I was born in Tehran. I was raised in Tehran. Some of my best and worst childhood memories are in Tehran. That is where I felt the love of my grandparents, who were so instrumental in who I am.
Mm.
My mom, my mom's colleagues, these strong, independent, working women that I grew up around, and my dad, and the people that I loved, and the special fruits that you can only find in Tehran in spring or summer. But the world had other designs for me, I guess. And that brings me to Pooya Land. This little blurb I say Pooya Land. Pooya Land is is a state of mind. It's this concept is where you are allowed and embraced and loved for whoever you are, so long as you lead with kindness and authenticity. And it has taken many years. I mean, the concept of Puya Land started with this one woman show about, I don't know, 14, 15 years ago. And it's become a thing, and I embrace it, and I share it, and I share from it because I feel that it gives me my strength to have a visual if we're all floating on our own little mini islands, Pooya Land is my little mini island covered with multicolor sparkles. And whenever I come next to somebody else's island, I just give them a little bit of that sparkle. And what is that sparkle? You've read my post. Most of them end, be kind to yourself. Be your most authentic self. Be your most ardent supporter and your most vigilant critic. As my teacher used to say, be your own bullshit detector. You know, find the answers. Conscience, what we call conscience. But truly be your own conscience. And share from that. I have this example, I say, society is like this never-ending mesh. It started long before any of us came around, and it will continue to go on long after we disappear. And each one of us is just one singular ring in that never-ending mesh in every direction, back and forth and sideways. All I ask everyone to do is be your best ring that you can be, because that's all you can do. Be the best ring that you can be. Hold your part of the bargain. And where the other rings are, that is outside of your control. But if you are your best, your kindest, your most authentic, your most gloriously illuminating, that guides, that lights the path for others. And when you are done and your journey is over and that ring comes to an end, another ring takes that place. So you don't have to worry about that. All you got to worry about is what you're going to do between birth and death. And that is what gives me a sense of peace and solace about the concept of death. It may also be that I have faced it many times in my life. As a child growing up during the war and listening for bombs dropping and being in the basement and thinking, is it going to drop on us tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, it dropped. It wasn't us. Okay, we can go back to bed and live another day. And then the same thing the following day. Or having had moments that I had someone with their hands around my throat, or someone about to run me over with a car. And I had those very close moments of, Pooya, it's coming at you. And then just having that voice in you say, like, fight, or step aside. But I find peace in the fact that when it's your time, it'll come for you. And that you have very little control over. But you have every control over the kind of ring that you choose to be in that mesh. And I would like that when I come to the end of my journey and I look back on my life, that I can look back on my life and laugh my ass off and let that be the way that I go out, because I want to have lived a life full of intention, full of question, full of curiosity, and full of gratitude that despite all the things that happened to me, I was given this opportunity to be where I am now, to talk to you now, to have had the year I've had as an actor, to get asked into rooms, to do stories that make my heart fly. And that I get to be an out and open Iranian queer activist that other people can see, maybe reach out to.
Yeah. And can be a beacon of light. Can be a beacon of light.
I'm not even going to go as far as saying a beacon of light. I'm
going to say
many,
it.
well, rock on, sister. I look at it as we all have little flashlights.
Mm.
and it's our heart and it's our truth.
Indeed.
And sometimes it's like I'm like, oh, you're trying to find your path. Here, there you go. You
Yeah.
can see, okay, I'm not telling anybody this whole thing of like we're indoctrinating. I'm like, if me being accused of indoctrination is the fact that I just hold the light so somebody else can find their own journey, if that means indoctrination, then I will take it gladly. Except I have to say that that is not the definition of indoctrination.
Of course,
If
but
if we're talking about actual meanings. However, as during the Trump presidency, someone said there's such a thing as alternative facts. I do not believe that facts can have alternates, but
yeah.
whatever.
Okay, well, you told me in our pre-chat, and I love what you just shared. It's an exquisite legacy, and I know that legacy is very important to you. And that is an extraordinary legacy that you offer that you can look to those coming up at the end of your journey, a glorious legacy. So I'm looking at our time. I want to talk about, you have been in some fantastic storytelling. You've been invited into beautiful rooms. Your career has just blossomed gloriously. What are you doing right now? And how can people continue to find you?
Um, for the next 9, 10 months, I am grateful and glad to say I'm a working theater actor. Uh, from now till August, I'm doing two readings of new plays and two workshops, one at Eugene O'Neill Theater, one at Dartmouth College. But starting the beginning of September, I'm doing an off-Broadway play at Playwrights Horizon in New York City uh, called In the Amazon warehouse parking lot. If I'm not butchering the name, I apologize if I just butchered the name. And then, kind of like, the milestone of my career is I'm making my Broadway debut. Uh, but I can't give too much details about that out. However, if you are on Instagram, you can follow me at Pooya Land. I always say like Disneyland, but not. It's it's P as in Peter, Ooya. That's my name. Land, Pooya Land. And I also want to say that I'm so grateful for my name, even though it was in this arbitrary world a masculine name that I never changed, because I think it fits me because of its reason, because of its meaning. What Puya means, it means an eternal searcher. I mean, I add eternal, but it means a searcher, a seeker, someone who's
Hmm.
trying to bring about change to make the world better. And I'm like, well, if that is not the perfect fit.
Yes. Perfection. Oh, beautiful. And your website, pooyamohseni.com.
It's actually, no, it's Puya Land.
Oh, is it?
Everything I am is
Of course.
Puya Land.
Of course it
It's
is.
Puya Land.
Pooyaland.
Hashtag Puya Land or Mama Puya. My
Uh,
website is Puya Land. Uh, check out my reel on IMDb if you want.
totally.
Um, I'm not a difficult person. If you look up Puya
Yeah.
actor, there are not that many out there. If you had a hard time with Pooya trans actor, you definitely would find me. But whoever's listening, I'm not telling anybody who to be or what to be. I'm just saying everybody has a right to be their loving, kind, authentic self, no matter how that manifests.
Amen. Amen. Well, I would say you lead with the identity of kindness, my friend. And that
Thank
is
you.
the most glorious. Well,
Thank
I
you.
thank you, Pooya, my friend, for being on the edge of every day Do you have any last words for any allies or young people that you want to share? Just quickly.
Believe that you have every capability and every right to want change and to be able to make change happen.
Amen. Thank you again. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your beauty on the edge of every day. And to my listeners, let's all lead with the identity of kindness and the identity of liberation. And remember that gender is what you make of it, and biology is not a destiny. And on this 4th of July, remember, we won't experience true freedom until the freedom of others does not threaten our own. And last but not least, remember, you are always at the edge of the miraculous. And until we speak again, take good care.
Much love.
Much love.